Welcome back to Bite Size Sports. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're ready for your fantasy football playoffs. Just me tonight, Kev here, without James, but he is out there doing some scouting, some basketball scouting. Wishing him the best of luck. And a happy early holidays to all of you. I will actually be out next week, so may not see some of you until after the holidays. So however you celebrate, whatever you are celebrating, I hope it's merry and filled with joy. We will do what we can to help you get prepped for tonight's Thursday night game. We got some fantasy football stuff to look at. We will dive into some NBA storylines, of course, talk about the big signing of Juan Soto and people's very reasonable reactions to such things. Love the hatred between the Mets and the Yankees, if I can be honest. And speaking on hatred, we will maybe take a bit of a preview into the college football playoffs, which I hate, because my beloved Fighting Irish, of course, drew the Indiana Hoosiers, which were the only other team out of the 12 that I would have loved to root for. I thought I was about to be spoiled, gang. That's really what's happening here. I'm just pouting. I thought, hell yeah, I got the Irish in the playoffs. And then when they inevitably break my heart, hell, I'll have IU to root for too. But no, they have to play each other. Thank God for those automatic bids for those conference teams. Otherwise, a deserving team like Arizona State might not get that first bye in the playoffs. But I digress. I don't want to spend too much time whining about the college football playoffs. There will be a stream, I believe, next week. Trevor and Nate are going to dive in and preview the college football playoffs. I think they're going to focus a little bit on that IU-ND game. Maybe I will be able to hop on. I'm not sure. But let's take a look at tonight's football game. This segment brought to you, of course, by Another Damn Fantasy Podcast, our Wednesday night fantasy football show. Subscribe and turn those notifications on so you never miss Trevor and Josh getting in there and giving you your advice, not only for your seasonal redraft fantasy leagues, but also they do a lot of stuff on Underdog and Best Ball, setting up some dailies, all kinds of great fantasy insight. Go check them out. I will say, since I have begun listening to the boys every Wednesday, I have vastly improved my own fantasy game. Made the playoffs 3 out of 5 this year. Actually, yeah, 3 out of 5. It should have been 4 out of 5. But a rough bye-week matchup in Week 14. Didn't have Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown did nothing. Brock Bowers did nothing. We fell short. Ran into a slide there. 14-team league. We were a 3-loss team all season and then lost the last couple weeks in a row. It was terrible. It was tragic. But, hey, we were sniping that league early on because we had Rashee Rice, who I got to steal in damn near every draft, thanks to our friends down here, Another Damn Fantasy Podcast. So what is going on? The big question of the night for this matchup for a lot of people in their playoff matchups was, will Guerrero play? Good news. The status has been updated to active. The injury was a sprained foot. I know a lot of people were worried he was listed as questionable, did not practice on Wednesday, had a light walkthrough on Thursday, said he was feeling good, and he is now officially active. That's the real question. Do you guys out there feel comfortable starting him? I have him in 2 leagues, in 2 of my playoff teams, and in the one, he is definitely starting. I was able to snag him in as a waiver wire in my dynasty league to be a Band-Aid. And now he's going to end up starting this week because I've got somebody else injured. But in a In another league, I have a bit of a test here because James Cook was initially is James Cook, and then I've got Rashad White and Bucky Irving, and I was able to snag Garendo. So once I got the all clear that he was going to play, I decided to go with Garendo tonight because Cook is really, really up in the air for me right now. Not feeling very confident with that. So I'm rolling the dice, looking for a big day from Greta. What up, Trevor? No James tonight. James has got he's got a game to go to, so he's out here on the hardwood tonight. Phrasing, I should have said that one differently, but no, he's watching some hoops tonight. So just me. Appreciate all of you guys coming through to hang out. We will definitely get you out of here by the time Thursday night football starts. And looking into that, are there any other players that you guys are riding tonight that you need to see a big night from? Obviously, Kyron Williams. I love to see. I should have checked stats on this before we went live to see what percentage of playoff teams have him on their roster. I mean, the sickos know about him, right? You guys out there in multiple leagues. Kyron didn't take you by surprise, but to the casual viewer, when you look at some of those stats from when he essentially got the job, he's been one of the best backs in the league. He's been pretty consistently good. I think it's going to be a lot of the running game for both of the Rams. Defensively, not great against the run at all. So you expect Garendo. It's wild. This dude was on the practice squad 2 weeks ago, and now it's sort of like, well, he'll just do what Christian McCaffrey did, right? Do we think he's still going to be that successful this week? If he's healthy enough, I say yes, because it's the Rams. But will we be able to ride him to a fantasy championship? I am not sure. Obviously, Stafford has gotten better throughout the year. It helps to have his receivers healthy. So I don't know if anybody's rolling with Stafford or Purdy. Debo Samuel hilariously tweeted that there is no struggle. He's just not getting the ball, to which he was community noted to point out that he's leading the Niners in drops. So I'm fading Greg Kittle tonight. George Kittle. Greg Kittle. I would fade Greg Kittle too. I'm fading Kittle, but that's just because I'm going against him in the playoffs. There's no good reason for me to do that. I just need it to happen. So we're putting it out there to the universe. Debo should get a lot of touches tonight, Lee said. So probably as well, especially if that sprained foot, like if Garendo is out, what do we got? Taylor and Keyshawn Vaughn, or maybe it's Keyshawn. I can't, probably not pronouncing that one right. What up, Nate? Tune in next week to watch Kev and I fight each other, maybe on our college football preview. Hopefully, I'll be out of town, so I may be joining you boys from my cell phone. We'll see if I can provide enough quality there. But yeah, Nate and I will be going at it. IU Notre Dame. Can't wait for that. Shanahan system is legit. 2 generations in a row, just legit systems for offense. Some folks may forget just how dominant any old dude was as a running back for the Broncos. You get 1,000 yards with Olandis Gary. Obviously, Terrell Davis went nuts when he had his opportunity. So that part is pretty cool to me as a big history nerd on top of being a sports nerd. You love to see that. It's almost as fun as watching some of my favorite baseball players having their kids be all-stars now. It's fun. I enjoy it. As far as the matchup tonight, I want to see who the over-under. Who do you guys have winning tonight? I think I'm going to lean Niners on this one. That's who I picked for Pick'em this week. And I want to see what the spread is for this one. I don't know that I personally will be placing any bets down. Niners are favored by 3. In the Pick'em, it was surprising. I think a lot of those, it's kind of funny when you see the percentages. I think a lot of pick'em games are still a casual way to enjoy the sport because you'd be surprised at some of these splits. And it was about 50-50 on this one, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I feel like the Niners, they also should be getting Greenshaw back today. Greenlaw. Man, I'm having a hard time speaking, but they're getting their wonderful linebacker back who tore his ACL in the Super Bowl. So they're going to have that boost returning. For me, I like the Niners. I don't that 3-point spread. I hate it so much. I feel like that's right there. I think they're going to win it. It's going to be a one possession game, probably less than a touchdown, unless Garendo really runs wild. But I think it's going to be probably a low scoring, run heavy affair. And Lee Harding's, yep, Lee got me there. 3 on the spread. Let me see. I want to take a look at some other things here with the game. The matchup predictor is a little more where I think it should be. 61% of the analytics are going towards the Niners, but it's wild looking at these stats. And McCaffrey's not even the leading runner. It's Mason, and he's still got the big old red IR next to his name. Oh, Jesus. As far as other notables, the Niners missing some guys on their offensive line, a linebacker, corner. The Niners, I did not know Joshua Dobbs was on the Niners until right this second. Rocky Sin also inactive. I miss that guy. Oh, a Colts legend, Rocky Sin. So let's take a look at some of our other stories. We maybe will circle back to the Thursday night football game right before we head out and get any questions that you might have regarding those matchups or any thoughts that you have about this week or just the rest of the week in general. Don't forget, on top of our Wednesday night show, we have a Tuesday night show, Necessary Roughness, where John and Ben talk about all of the major stories and break down the games in a very in-depth coverage on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. So be sure to check that out. If you want all of your NFL action all at once, go check that out. Trevor's taking Rams money line. Okay. Well, I mean, as far as a bet goes, that's probably some good money there with the Niners being favored. I like that bet. Because it's going to be close. I think it's a close game regardless. So I don't hate that bet at all. Even though I think the Rams are going to win, I still wouldn't talk you out of that bet. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA. There's been some drama going on Twitter and in the ESPN studio. Shams, someone who admittedly, cards on the table, is not an insider that I trust a ton. Going back to his day, what was it, FanDuel? There was a time where he was working on a betting app, essentially on their network, and it was just pointed out a couple of times how sometimes his incorrect reporting would move betting lines, and I don't have any sort of evidence about any of that, but it was enough for me just to be like, you know what, I'll believe it when I see it. But of course, with Woj out of the picture, Shams has only increased his role in breaking these kinds of stories, and he has reported that among circles, Jimmy Butler's agent has noted 3 teams, and then a fourth was added, but initially it was 3 teams that Jimmy would want to play for. He is open to being traded, according to this report. And the 2 Texas teams, even though there are more than 2 teams in Texas, guys. I don't know how that one slipped by a few people, though. There are 2 Texas teams that he was interested in, Houston and Dallas. Not San Antonio. Of course, wouldn't you know it, Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things. He wants to play on a win-now contender, and the options for him are the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Warriors, and then a fourth, the addition of the Phoenix Suns. Now, all of this has to come with a big old allegedly because Jimmy Butler's agent on Twitter has been discrediting all of this, dismissing it all, saying it's none of it's true, that he wouldn't be saying these things, and it's interesting. Now, for my money, I absolutely believe it. Look at Jimmy Butler's career. It's pretty impressive. He was in Miami for as long as he was. There was a time that I think he was on like a different team every year, right? How many people even remember that Jimmy Butler played in Minnesota, right? Outside of John Boyd, who remembers that? It's hard. It was went by so fast. It was gone in a flash. So I'm not surprised. I think it's pretty well established that Jimmy doesn't have a lot of patience for a rebuild or a lack of success. He's here to win. He wants to play winning basketball. And if he were to be interested in trading, or at least be open to being traded, he is certainly not going to willingly go to a worse situation. So no surprise there from me. If anything, I'm surprised by the agent's reaction to it because, I mean, this is just part of the business, right? Whatever you think about any of the insiders, whenever they get stuff right, get stuff wrong, it's their job to report what they're hearing. And trade rumors are trade rumors. I mean, I couldn't imagine if Miles Turner's agent went out and dismissed every trade rumor that Miles Turner has been in for the last 13 years. Again, a smaller profile player, absolutely. But it just seems odd. This comes with the territory. People are going to say that your client is interested in being traded or wants to go somewhere else in free agency. Who really cares? So maybe there's some sort of 3D chess move that I don't see here. Maybe the making more noise about it is just to create more headlines, and that, I don't know, just get more eyes on them, and then that'll turn into a marketing opportunity. I have no idea. Every time I see stuff like this now, my first instinct is that it's some form of marketing, that it's like it's a work. I just think everything's a work now. That there's somebody behind the scenes who is going to benefit from it somehow, and I just can't quite see it yet. So I was thrown off by the way this story has progressed so far. So I want to know what you guys think the best fit out of the four for Jimmy Butler. LeBron absence is agents want to make their 4% as big as possible. That there it is. Fair enough. Maybe that's why he's trying to make sure that other other organizations don't remove themselves from contention. So if somebody else has a better deal, the agent is still willing to hear it. For my money, I think it would be, man, what would you have to give back in return in order to get Jimmy Butler? How many of these teams have the depth or have the young pieces where they could move from uh, move to acquire Jimmy Butler and still be in a contending place? I really like the Rockets just as a, like, just the fan in me just is like, that would be the most fun. That's a 2K squad I'd love to run with if Jimmy Butler went there. I would hate the Warriors personally. That would just be, I don't know. It's like Han Solo joining the Empire or something. They don't need it. All right, y'all have had your run. Go away, Golden State. I don't want Jimmy Butler over there helping them get another one. So for my money, I think in Phoenix, I think would just be hilarious because how that experiment for my money has failed so far. I injuries, fair enough, completely understand, but that was the whole thing. Was that you're bringing in these superstars that are always injured and honestly don't fit super well together with their play styles, and how is any of that going to work? So it hadn't really gone well so far. So the idea of introducing Jimmy Butler, I think no matter where he goes, in the long run, he makes that team better because of his commitment to defense and his ability in playoff games to have these just amazing performances where he'll just go off and admittedly a streaky player at times, but I think he's got a champion's mentality. I think he'd be a great addition. So we'll see what happens. How will Miami reload? Because they normally don't have too many down seasons either. So we'll see how they're able to bounce back from this if Jimmy Butler is indeed gone. But Juan Soto is indeed gone. And one of my favorite pastimes over the last week or so has been to see Yankees fans just mauling on Twitter. It's good for the soul, honestly. You can talk about a spoiled fan base. Now, maybe not as much in recent years, but in my day, uh, the Yankees were just the worst. They were the villain of baseball. And now it seems like it's closer. The Dodgers are up there. There's at least more than one team with infinite money. And I think the reality is that a lot of these teams could be spending the money that some of these larger market teams, not all of them, mind you, but there are some owners out there that just don't want to spend the money, have no interest in building a winning tradition. They're just going to try to sell merchandise, sell tickets, concession, all that stuff. We're just here to make money, pal. That is it. Um, a massive contract to Soto, who interestingly mentioned that it might not have been all about the money. And I don't know, you can decide for yourself how much of this you actually believe. Um, it was reported that some of the politics of his teammates may have actually been what led him to just not have as much passion to play for the Yankees. Now, for me, I'm going to stick with the money. 750 million, was it? Maybe the Yankees, I'm sure the Yankees probably could have offered something. So maybe there's a little bit of truth to this. Obviously, it's not like we're used to hearing the Yankees being outbid by somebody. So maybe there's a little more to it than that. Um, but I've seen Yankees fans outside of the Mets Stadium pointing out how shitty it is. Just really, really upset. And I just can't process that, how it must feel to have the shoe finally on the other foot. Like for Yankees fans to complain that for once in the history of sports, a Yankee player left them to go sign a big contract somewhere else. Good. Now you know how the rest of us feel when it's a Yankees Dodgers World Series and you got 18 All-Stars. You got, the best player the Marlins have had for the last 3 years, the best Brave out there, the best Padre. You've got an all-time Cub out there. It's just Jesus, man. Good, you bums. Cry about it. Cry more, Yankees fans. Jesus, you disgust me. Don't the Mets owners have the most money? It sure seems that way. Now, I don't have any love for the Mets either, but I don't know that it's possible for me to have as much disdain for any franchise as I do for the Yankees. 785 million can get you 10 players or once. What my first thought when I saw this contract was Bobby Bonilla. I was like, "Oh boy, how many of these 10 years do they get before they're just like, yeah, we're going to pay you a small amount for the next 25 years." And maybe if we're lucky, they'll cut those checks on the same day and maybe we'll have a little over. I mean, Bobby Bonilla days, they've got to be running out soon, right? I mean, maybe we have half a decade or so left. I don't know. We're not, I don't think we've completely run out, but maybe there will be some overlap. There is a small window that exists where we could have Bobby Bonilla Day transition into Juan Soto Day and just laugh at the Mets for their historically bad contracts. Is there any fear out there that this will turn into that? I'm assuming that they will get at least a few good years, but injuries are a real thing in baseball too, man. I don't know. 10-year contracts are just laughable to me, really, in any sport. He is the richest by far. and all of it is questionable on how he made it. Then that's a very didn't the same thing happen to them with their maybe not previous owners, but in the early 2000s, whenever Bernie Madoff got caught, weren't the then owners of the Mets one of his marks? Like, well, didn't that? I maybe I'm misremembering that, but I who I for one am shocked to find out that someone with enough money to buy a sports team might have cut a few corners to get there. I feel shocked. John says, meanwhile, Twins ownership running the team like they're trying to do is profit. See, this is the stuff that I was talking about a second ago, John, where it's like, yes, there are teams out there that could spend more money that don't, that just for whatever reason don't want to. And that's what I said, because I think they're just trying to uh, make a profit. Top three free agent pitcher just once. Come on. It's sort of one of my closer friends is a Reds fan. So like once a season, I'll usually go down with him to Cincinnati, catch a Cubs Reds game. And it's almost always the same conversation. Oh, we have this stud coming up. Look at this great prospect we have. You know, he'll be playing in LA or New York in 2 years. Just I wish we could, or Joey Votto, right? They have this guy, an all-time great for them, and they're just like, can we please just have one? Not even a World Series run. Some of these fans have been so deprived of just any hope that they don't even wish for a World Series run. Can I just have one pennant race, please, in Cincinnati? That they're begging for it. And I know, John, as a Twins fan, you guys have seen your share of success over the last couple of decades, but I'm sure it's got to feel that way too, where you've had a couple of those rosters where you think you're just a guy or two away, and nah, let's not spend that money. Let's not make a trade at the deadline. It gets frustrating. As a Cubs fan, um, everything after 2016 has, of course, as naturally it would be a decline. That was the peak of sports fandom for me. No moment will ever top that, because I won't live to be 130 and have a team go 0 for 100 plus years. Like, there's never going to be something like that for any of the teams that I root for that would touch that. But that didn't make it any easier, the fact that they had that core together for several years after that, and they continued to underperform. I mean, they look brilliant now for trading away Javi Baez and Chris Bryant. The Rizzo thing is what it is, but Baez and Bryant fell off a cliff, and so they didn't really miss out on anything there. But you've had these teams that could be good. They'll spend money to bring in a Seiya Suzuki. They'll bring in some guys, but it's just sort of, it's clearly not enough to be competitive in the majors right now. And you don't understand, because it's not a poor family that owns the Chicago Cubs. Like, they should be theoretically able to spend just as much as the Yankees or the Red Sox, maybe not quite the Dodgers or the Mets, but they should be up there in that general tier, I would think, but it never seems to be that way. And it feels like they're back to being a team that preps guys for greatness on someone else's roster. That's kind of how it feels. Yeah, Twins glorified Yankees farm system. Exactly. That's how it feels for everything. Like, how many great Miami Marlins have you seen win rings for not Miami? I know they had that weird run where they would build this great farm system World Series winning team and then just sell everything. But those days are long gone. They'll have a good season, and then instead of going for it, they cut costs. Yeah, that is the pain that I think, unfortunately, a lot of baseball fans feel if you're not rooting for one of those 4 or 5 major market squads. And those are the things that I wish would change about baseball. I don't know that I want to see any more rules changing, and it's not even necessarily, I don't know, do we go a salary cap in baseball? Like, I'm not saying that I would know how to fix it, but I feel like that could help grow the sport a little bit, just to have more competition, just to have better teams in local markets, give people in Ohio a team to root for. Because if you ask Guardians fans, I bet they'll feel about the same way. They somehow, some way, those teams almost overperform constantly. Like they seem to be winning despite their front office. Like it's almost like the Major League movie over and over again. They somehow will find some guy, like what was it? Lindor came from there, right? Like they'll find one stud, and they'll grab a couple of rotation guys that end up just being nasty, or they'll have the best closer in the game, and you'll be like, wow, this team, if they just add a piece or two, they could really do it. But nah, we're good right here, dude. We're good. So it just has to be so frustrating. What's Lee have to say? Don't you guys realize that the middle part of the country is the farm system country? Yeah, exactly. We're just happy to be here. Oh man, it is damn true. Nate says the Kansas City Athletics basically were a farm team for the Yankees back in the 50s and 60s. And I'm just waiting for the White Sox to move. When you say move, Nate, and I forget, I know this has been mentioned before, but are there some other cities in play for the White Sox right now? Because with the A's just moving, I'm curious as to see like where it would be, or if it's just going to be further out and still be the Chicago White Sox, and they'll just move to a suburb or something. And what up, Twitch viewer? Probably not a bot. Welcome. Nashville. Oh, yes. You know what? Move the White Sox to Nashville. Give me another team in Tennessee to hate. I'm all about it. Give me a reason to go to Nashville, first of all, to just watch. Yeah, sure. I'll watch a baseball game while I'm there. But give me a reason to be rivals with James about something else. I'm all about that. The Nashville White Sox. What the hell would they change their name to? Nashville Sounds is a pretty decent minor league name, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. They were on the board to move Tampa before the Rays came. That is another one. What's going to happen? Aren't the Rays playing in like a minor league field or a college field this year because of the unfortunate circumstances with the hurricane rolling through? I mean, they already had attendance issues. A few years ago, it was rumored they were going to play half their home games in Montreal, which would have made my how late we're in. We're good. Would have made my fucking day. Okay. I lived in Tampa in 1998 when the Rays came to town. So the Rays I've always had a soft spot in my heart. The Rays have been my AL team, if you will. And I have family in Montreal, so the Expos also. I'm not wearing the hat today, but longtime viewers know it. Love my Expos. Wish they were still around. But I'm interested to see the future of the Rays, and as Nate mentioned, the White Sox. It doesn't feel like baseball's anywhere where they're going to see an expansion anytime soon, right? Like they've got these teams to move. This is close to an expansion as we're going to get, I think, for some time with baseball. But I don't know. I really hope that things get better. One of my favorite pastimes as a kid. Over time, I've watched baseball less and less, and I really hope that changes. I would love to be excited about it again. Maybe part of that is just being a Cubs fan. Just hard, just hard to care. Oh man. Nate, while you're here, I'll flash the IU versus Notre Dame matchup. We can talk a little bit about college football playoffs. How's everybody feeling with the field of 12? My biggest gripe, and the thing that I hope they change quickly, I'm not a fan of the conference champion getting a bye. And now call me out if you want, call it biased, because I mean, I don't even know if Notre Dame, I don't think they would have been in the mix of a top 4 regardless, but I just don't think Arizona State deserves that spot. Am I out of line there? Do you guys disagree with me? I think it should just be the best 12 teams. the top 4 ranked, those are the ones that get the bye. End of story. How do you guys feel about that? Back on the Louisville's a great baseball city. I would be all about that too, honestly. That that does feel like a they have another one. They have a triple A. They have is it the Bats there? Um, I think that would be great. Give them Tampa or the White Sox. But yeah, when it comes to the college football playoffs, I actually this segment is going to get combined a little bit. We're just going to talk about college postseasons. All right, I didn't make a banner for this, but I was reminded that I saw an article this week that I put a tweet out about talking about a certain board member. I can't remember the exact person. Someone is bullish about expanding the college basketball postseason now to 72 or 76 teams, with the caveat that this would be the final edition. I'm going to press X to doubt on that one. But the framing of it is, well, there's only so many games we can add in the time between conference tournaments ending and the tournament needing to start. But I'm old enough to remember when March Madness was in March. It feels like half the damn tournaments in April at this point. So what would really stop them from expanding? At this point, fuck it. There's 352 teams, just round robin. Well, round robin, that's ridiculous. But just let everybody in. Why not? Because at this rate, I think the first response to my joking tweet about just let everybody be in the tournament was someone saying someone would still complain. There would still be someone on the bubble. Like, you're never going to solve for bubble teams. No matter how deep we go, there will always be a team or two whose fan base can make the case we should have been there. That's what fans are for. For us, we get a little sometimes delusional. We get passionate about our squad. There's always going to be those people on the outside looking in who felt like they deserve to be there. And I get why this is being done. This is just to generate money, but I think it runs the risk of watering down the product. And with college basketball, I think it kind of works because the March Madness, the big draw to it is what kind of upsets could happen in the first 2 rounds. So if you're adding these additional games, all you're really doing is adding, 11 to 15 seeds, right? Or 16 seeds. I think that, don't they have one of the play-ins? Turns out, it's like the 6-11 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the play-in entitles, but it's not going to be a bunch of the top tier teams. It's just going to be some more lower mid-conference teams playing against each other in those, or instead of the first 4 or the first 8, or whatever, be the first 16, some kind of something like that. So I don't hate it as much there, but I get nervous at the idea that we're going to eventually expand the football playoffs. What is it going to be? 24-16. Lee says it should be a 14-team playoff. I'd be interested. How would the buys work? Because I don't hate 14. I'm not suggesting what is this, our first time doing 12? So I'm not suggesting that this is pencils down, we're good here. But for my money, I think it's 16 would be the cap for me. But I think people want to be rewarded with bye weeks. So I assume that'll be built into the format, that there will always be bye weeks. So a 14-teamer, would that be, what would you just have top 6 get a bye? Yeah, but anyway, I am interested to see the expansion and how far we will go with it. The future of college football is a little murky to me because, as we see, we're going to have just 4 major conferences, right? And I think the NIL and transfer window stuff has made it a real whirlwind. I've seen all the jokes about the real winner of the transfer window is God. People joking like God is not this invested in all of your transfers. But you will have potentially those Indiana programs, those coaches that can get 27 guys to transfer into my team, and now we've got a whole new mentality, we've got a whole new structure here because we went and got uh, almost a full team's worth, a full starting lineup's worth of guys who are winning players in other programs who are looking to do something. So you still have those guys, you still have those teams every once in a while that will rise up the ranks, but the majority of it isn't it just going to be the top 3 teams from these conferences. Like I foresee the day is coming where Notre Dame just has to join a conference in football. I don't know how much longer they'll get by as an independent. That you could make the case they could have and maybe should have done it years ago. I understand the NBC money, but where college football is going, I don't think they survive being an outsider with these major conferences. So that'll be interesting. Oh, I have not talked about Belichick yet. What up, Advent? Shout out to Advent. He's been doing some retro gaming reviews and playthroughs, so check him out. I got to get caught up, man. I've missed a bunch of those videos. I want to check out some of that stuff you've been emulating. Bill will make it a pro system, Lee says, and as if on cue, John says there, talk about Belichick yet. No, that is great. Let's do that. Somehow I forgot to put that on the run of show, so thank you both. Bill Belichick, 3-year deal, right? With a guarantee that his son will be the head coach in waiting. Now, the jokes I have seen, the best one I've seen is those who are suggesting that Bill Belichick only took this job to guarantee that his son would get a head coaching job are way off the mark here. I think Belichick took this job to ensure that his girlfriend could get into grad school. Okay, I did not write that joke. That was a stolen Twitter joke, but that's the best one I've seen. All seriousness, I absolutely expect Bill to be a success in his tenure here, however long or short it is. He reminds me a lot of Nick Saban. I probably, do you guys disagree? Do you agree? The no nonsense old man head football coach, just X's and O's. I doubt he'll have any problem recruiting. Another great joke. Anybody who thinks Bill Belichick can't recruit should just look at his girlfriend. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry. But yeah, he should be able to convince anybody. The winningest coach in terms of Super Bowls in football history, the head coach of Tom Brady, who's still all over, everywhere. Nobody's forgotten about Tom Brady yet. I don't think Bill has a single problem with recruiting so long as the donors and the grads, as long as there's plenty of money running through North Carolina, which I imagine there is, I can't see Bill having a problem. And this could be the sort of time frame that could bump UNC up a level. Will they stay a powerful, I don't even know if I want to call them a powerhouse. I believe that Bill Belichick will do some things. I don't know that he's going to turn them into what Alabama was. I'm not he's not that much like Nick Saban, nor does he have that much time left to do it. But I think they'll be very good as long as he is there. Now, what I'm wondering is the day he retires, or at least the day that the transfer window opens after he's retired, will we see 48 Tar Heels just go somewhere else and leave? Bill Belichick's son is going to be like when Paul Silas's son got hired to coach the Rockets, and he was like, "Hey, I'm a win now coach," and then like the next day, James Harden was like, "I don't want to be here anymore," and they traded the whole team away. Next thing you know, young Mr. Silas had just the rebuild of all rebuilds, and like poor guy, not what he thought he was signing up for. Lee makes a great point. Remember, MJ is an alumnus, and we know how much he likes to gamble. I can't imagine he wouldn't be willing to throw some money down to invest in the football program to try to win a couple national titles while he's there. He's also He's been owner of a few different things, right? Outside of what's been, I think he was owned a race car, a part owner in a racing team at some point. Didn't he own part of the Wizards when he started playing for him? So like, we know he likes to get in the mix. So that's a good point, Lee. He will probably, at the very least, throw some money at that program. Yeah, I think the Tar Heels, I don't know if I want to call them an instant contender. I think in year one, we'll see them be a pretty tough team. They'll be a tough out. I think they'll be good. They'll probably get some quality talent in the transfer portal. Well, actually, I'll be honest, I don't know how many different transfer portals there are at this point now. Like, is there going to be another one before the season starts, or did they miss their window? Because I know there's, been a lot of people transferring this week. That were they able to capitalize on the rumor of him coming, or are they going to have to wait? And would they have loved if he had signed this a month ago? And certainly, I'm sure it would have been better. Could have gotten some more transfers out of it. Zach says, give him 3 years. Welcome, Zach. Isn't that that's what his contract is for, right? What I wonder is, what's the goal for Bill? Does he want to do it for more than 3 years, or is his intention, I'm going to take this, I'm going to build it up? Obviously, he wants to hand it to his son, but is the intent, I'll just be here for just those 3 years and then it's yours now? Or if things are going well and that third year ends with a national title run or at least a deep playoff run, is he going to say, bring me back, we're going back? Like a 2-year extension, some more hooded sweatshirts, son, you're back on the bench. How will it work out? And will his son get enough FaceTime experience and credit from both his dad and the players to where, again, to point out what I said before, to get them to stay? Because I have no doubt that people want to play for Bill Belichick, but will they want to play for his son? Or is this going to be just a short term? And as Zach says, give him 3 years and then they're there. And then it'll feel like, as Zach, this one's going to be close to home for both of us. Is it going to be like Notre Dame in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you'd have a coach in for 3 years, you'd fire him, the next guy would look good with the other guy's players because he'd have a team full of juniors and seniors that were talented that the other guy had recruited. And then by the time you get to year 3, year 4, oh, you're out the door now too. And then the next guy comes in, looks great with the last guy's players, and so on and so forth. You know who I'm talking about: Bob Davie, Tyrone Willingham, Charlie Weiss. We've known, is this going to start one of those cycles for them, where he can look good for a year or two, but will he be able to sustain it? Remember what Bobby Knight did at Texas Tech? Yeah. I mean, that was a solid run. I don't remember, to be fair, to answer your question, I don't remember all of the details of it. But yes, I mean, that was not a well-known program before, if memory serves. I'm sure they had a player or two. But that is something that I feel like has been sustained, right? They have stayed relevant in that space for the most part. I mean, everybody will have a down year or two, but I can't remember if they had any massively deep runs. But let's see what Zach have to say here about all of the players on teams in the college. Oh, he put his son in the coaching job. Yeah, I did. I wonder, how did that work out? All the players on teams in the college football playoffs have 5 days after their season ends to enter the transfer portal too. So he has time to pick guys from them. Oh, they also have a spring portal entry as well, right after spring practice ends. Thank you, Zach. That is, I figured it was something like that. I was like, they've got all these different opportunities now. There's multiple transfer windows. So good point. They have plenty of time with him now to, as I referenced, to pull a Hoosiers, and because I imagine Belichick should be good at that. When I think about what they were good at, and at least what Belichick gets a lot of credit for, and I don't know if there was somebody else on his staff that was helping back then that will be coming with him to Carolina. but he's been pretty great at talent assessment, right? Some of his best players, not just Tom Brady. Tom Brady, of course, the easy one, the 6th-round pick. Julian Edelman, right? What was it, quarterback at Akron? Was he even drafted? But you have all these guys that they were able to find successful, useful players in the late rounds of drafts. And what I think, above all, where Belichick is going to be valuable to this team is finding those kinds of transfers, finding the 3-star recruit that didn't get the right looks that goes and plays for Iowa State or maybe somebody even smaller and goes out there and is just dominant at that smaller level and grab those kind of transfers. Now, I know that's going to be more and more, that's going to be the plan for a lot of these young men. To do something like that rather than go be the 3rd-string running back at LSU. Screw it. I'll go play a year at Tulsa. I don't care. And then we'll see which big program wants me. But I think he'll be really good at going into the lower levels too, maybe finding talent all over the states to bring to North Carolina. I think obviously there will be the name recognition. There will be people that just want to come there, but his big skill set, I think, has been finding those diamonds in the rough. And if he can do that for North Carolina, then yeah, they'll be right there within those 2-3 years. His name was Pat Knight. That's right. Pat Knight. I forgot about that. Man, at one point in my younger days, Bobby Knight was it. I remember the barber shop I went to as a young kid. All they had to do is put like a bowl on top of it, but having those old ass 90s era calendars with like the airbrush. And so you'd have the team photo, like Bobby Knight is the centerpiece. Might as well have been Jesus up on that thing back where I came from. Johnny says Belichick is definitely going to get Jamie Collins a bunch of kids, recruit them. They play freshman and sophomore year at UNC, then transfers for money Belichick was unwilling to pay, only to finish at UNC. Zach says, plus he has connections to the NFL, which is what these kids want, a path to the NFL. That's true too, right? If your goal is to become a pro, he'd be a guy who would know, and he's going to have all those examples that I just went through, right? He's going to have this is what Teddy Bruschi would do. This is what Mike Vrabel would do in practice. This is how Edelman made his way from undrafted to a top receiver. Wes Welker, another guy who is a gadget guy, just returning kicks for the Dolphins. And all of a sudden, look what they were able to do with that. So, yeah, I think that's a great point that Zach has made there, that if you want a job, a lot of these guys are probably going to call Bill Belichick, a lot of these GMs, and I'm sure he's still got so many connections. I mean, shit, the guy's he was a head coach. Was it the late 80s, early 90s when you get that Browns job? Like he probably knows people in damn near every organization. So that's a great point. Definitely be another leg up for any young athletes that want to go there. Threw the chair across the floor. Those Bobby Knight. It's my favorite moments of Park and Rec when Ron Swanson emulates that. But hasn't Bill burnt a lot of those bridges? Okay, that's valid. I don't know. I'm sure there are some. I think lucky for him, most of the Bill Belichick coaching tree has crashed and burned, and they're probably all back as assistant coaches somewhere. So he doesn't have to worry about any of Charlie Weiss, Romeo, or Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniel being around there, sullying his brand any further. They're back to a coordinator and specialist jobs, I'm sure, for the most part. UNC will be pumping out Lad McConkeys and Cooper DeJeans left and right. Oh, is that Bill's going to start watching a whole bunch of lacrosse? Probably he's going to start saying, "Hey, I think they have a pretty good lacrosse program over there. Maybe he'll be able to convert some of those fellows to play tight end for him. Maybe a little wing back, a little fullback action." Mike Lombardi and Matt Patricia are coming with him. Yeah, dude. Yeah, who am I kidding? Patricia's going to be there. He'll be right there. He'll have an endless supply of number 2 pencils on campus. Dayball is part of his tree too. Oh boy. Oh, no. So we didn't. We're not out of the woods just yet. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, no, I think it will be an interesting shakeup. Carolina should be pretty good. I think they'll be solid. My money is that they will be ranked in the top 25 to start the season, almost just out of brand recognition, right? Maybe I don't know. I'm not saying they'll be a top 10, but if they're, if there aren't just 25 super solid guarantees, I would almost bet you'll see UNC ranked 23rd in the nation to start this season just because Bill is there. I think they'll be just okay year one. They'll probably win more games than they lose, and they'll make strides towards being a great program. Probably by year 2, it'll be full steam ahead. And like I said, the real question for me is what happens for life after Bill? Because if he's the only reason to show up, I don't see him being there for 10 years. I just don't. So we'll see. And it depends on what their different definition of success is. If they're just trying to get one natty, all right, let's go all in with Bill for 3 years. Let's give him some MJ money, and let's work that transfer portal as well as we can. Brad Johnson's kid is still at QB. Oh, well, then you got no shot, right? Man, Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson was Chad Pennington before Chad Pennington. Although I did love those elbow pads, dude. He looked like me out there. I would some days, a lot of people don't know this about me, John, but when I was a kid, I delivered newspapers, and I lived down in Florida. And instead of riding a bicycle, I would rollerblade my paper route. And every time I strapped on those elbow pads, I just felt like I was about to go lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a rare victory back then. Until they had that one good season, the one double-digit win season in the last 30 years. Woof. At least 10 wins. At least 10 wins only have 2 teams ranked in top 50 that they have to play. Oh, wow. And they're going to have a nice, easy schedule. Oh, okay. I maybe have to stand corrected on that. You might be right. They're going to finally crack that double-digit slump they've had. Hey, John, something like that. He was the Jeff George of Ryan Fitzpatrick. There we go. Yes. Oh, I could do. Oh, see, this would be fun. A fun way to end the show. He's the Heath Schuler of Cade McNowns. I can. Oh my God, can we? I wish that would hit. One day we just need to do a stream where it's just, and maybe this can be a recurring thing. Where we just do that game. We just start listing obscure quarterbacks or whatever. It doesn't have to be quarterbacks. It just feels like a natural place to start considering where we are. It's he was the Jeff George of Ryan Fitzpatrick's really got me. All right, speaking of Jeff George's and Ryan Fitzpatrick's, last chance before I'm out of here, gang. I know Thursday night game is going to start again. So Brock Purdy, okay, the Ryan Fitzpatrick of our day, going up against Matt Stafford. We talked about this a little bit early on, but just to briefly recap, my money is on the running backs tonight. If Garendo's foot is okay, this Rams defense gives up a lot on the ground. Kyron Williams been pretty solid, at least in a fantasy perspective. I know he gets the ball in the end zone. I'm a huge fan. I always believed in him coming out of Notre Dame, but that doesn't always work out. Audric Estime. I still believe in you too, brother. You'll get there. But for my betting money, which I am not laying down tonight, to be fair, I would take the Rams on the money line. Maybe this or not. No, sorry. I would take the Niners. Trevor took the Rams money line, which would be probably the more profitable bet. The Niners are 3-point favorites. I think that's damn spot on. So I'd have a hard time. You know what? Maybe I would take the Rams +3 because I do think it's going to be a close game. The Niners getting some help back on defense this week. Debo has been embarrassed on Twitter by being community noted. So perhaps he has a revenge game. And if Grendo's foot is not good, then I would say Debo's going to have himself quite a day because the other options are Taylor and Keshawn Vaughn. So if Garendo can't go, I wouldn't be surprised to see Debo get 5 or 6 carries out of the backfield as well, something like that. So there you have it, folks. I appreciate you for hanging out with me solo tonight. I'm going to get out of here and watch the game a little bit. Might be going live over on our sister channel, Dweeb, Kyron and Pass Pro. Gotta love it. Gotta love it when you see him doing the little things right. Uh, but thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lee. Zach, appreciate you. Trevor for hanging out. Advent, appreciate you for stopping by to say hi. Nate, good luck for now. Thank you for coming. And Stu, of course, Stream Elements. Shout out to Stream Elements. Always here for us. Later on, gang, I will see you probably on this channel. Maybe I'll see you next week. I will try to join Trevor and Nate for the college football stream, but I will be gone next week. So don't forget to tune in Tuesday night to watch the NFL show, Kick It with the Boys. Get ready for the NFL playoffs as they approach, and then continue your own fantasy football playoff push Wednesday night, 9:15 with Trevor and Josh for our fantasy show. If you want to see more of me, like I said, our sister station, The Dweeb, that is youtube.com/@Dweeb with 2 Ds to start. I will be there talking about all things nerdy. We've got some movie reviews, some preview reviews, all kinds of cool stuff coming out. And I also started streaming randomly at my own channel. So at Kev Nevick on YouTube, if you want to chill with us there. Anything that's not about movies or sports, that'll be me over there. So anyway, time for me to go. Y'all have been great. I appreciate you hanging out. We will see you next time.